Hello, and welcome to the Futurum Tech Webcast. I'm Shelly Kramer, Principal Analyst at Futurum Research, and I'm here at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona this year, and I am joined by some VIP guests, Meredith Alexander and Kishore Sannidhanam, from Salesforce, and we are going to talk today about trends in communication and what's happening and what's going on with Salesforce and all kinds of exciting things. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Meredith, other than the fact that you're freezing because it is freezing here in Barcelona today.
It is quite cold outside. I've been outside all day. So yeah, my name's Meredith Alexander. I'm a senior marketing manager here at Salesforce covering the communications industry. So I've been here just almost 2 years now, and prior to Salesforce I was actually at IBM doing a very similar job covering telco, media, and entertainment industry. So it's so nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you too. Kishore?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us on the show, Shelly. I'm Kishore Sannidhanam. I lead our industry advisory function for communications at Salesforce. What that means is my team helps our sales teams understand how best to sell into communication service providers, and also we work with customers in terms of what are the best practices and how should they react to what's happening in the industry, and then how Salesforce works. Been with Salesforce coming up on 11 years. Yeah, long time, and been doing this at different companies globally for the last 20 plus years.
Great. So you mentioned trends in the communication industry. We've got a lot of changes, a lot of things in play. Talk with us a little bit about some of the key trends that you're seeing.
So the way we're looking at the market, there's a couple of different factors happening. One is on a macro level, we all know what's happening with the economy worldwide. And so our communication service provider customers are at an interesting inflection point, if you will. And what I mean by that is, on one hand, as we were here at the show, we see it's in full swing and they're all back. Probably, I've heard it's larger than ever before.
Right.
So there is, we've already passed 5G, they're talking about 6G and things like that. But on the other hand, everyone's thinking about how do we consolidate and how do we, if you will, work towards the margin pressures that they all have. And I think so the key things we're seeing is automation is a key topic, right? So everyone's thinking about consolidation and automation. How do we do more with less? And then if we kind of break it down into what's happening within each sector, it's a slightly different story based on where you're at. So on the B2C side, fiber is growing like weed.
Right.
There's a lot of new fiber companies starting up, but then we're also just starting to see some consolidation happening in fiber. One of the major fiber providers in the United States actually just a couple of weeks ago announced that they're going to actually pull back the number of households. But then we also hear a lot of new companies coming up.
Right.
I think on the B2B side, it's all around how do we do more self-service and automate for our customers, and then what do we do to actually capitalize on all these 5G investments we've made. And so we're starting to hear a lot of customers talk about network as a service, B2B2X marketplaces and things like that.
Well, they're focused on monetizing 5G, and what vendors, including Salesforce, are trying to do is trying to help facilitate that with solutions that make sense. And I think that it's funny, I laughed when you said do more with less. I mean, that is the theme, right, of 2023. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what vertical you're selling to, what solution you have, doing more with less is really, I think, a key theme. What about you, Meredith? Do you have anything that you want to contribute in terms of trends that you're seeing, or anything you see customers struggling with, or anything like that?
Yeah, so we surveyed communication service providers from all across the world, thousands of them. In fact, they're end customers and some of the service leaders too. And we found that customer service and the customer experience is really close to mind for the customers. So 88% of customers surveyed said they value the experience that the company provides, if not more than the end goods that the company provides. But 56% of the customers feel like they're still being treated as a number. So we are seeing that gap between what customers are wanting from service providers and then what they're actually receiving. Yeah.
We have a practice all around customer experience, so that this is very near and dear to my heart. It's so important. And people in my experience and in some of our research, people are even happy to pay a little bit more to feel like a brand cares about them, that my problems are something that you're going to help me sort through and that you're going to be there to support me and that sort of thing. So I think it's really, really, I mean, customers are telling us exactly what we want, what they want.
Right.
All we need to do is listen to them,
Exactly.
right? And, you know, and I think that's super important. So let's talk a little bit about network as a service. That's kind of a thing. Tell us about it.
I think the biggest difference this time around with 5G or even with the fiber rollout versus the last 4G was, up until that point of 4G, more or less, telecommunication providers had a monopoly on the marketplace.
Right.
They said, hey, we'll create the new network, we'll monetize it, and then we all know what happened.
And you'll live with it. Whatever we decide to do,
Exactly.
you'll live with it.
You'll live with it. But except, the operators that we see here are the ones that spent the money, but the clear winners are three companies, the hyperscalers. I think with 5G and even now with the fiber investments they're making, they're very consciously thinking about how do we not just become another dumb pipe? What is the value added difference we could create? And so one of the things is, if you look at any company, they have a core IP.
Right.
They want to take Salesforce, for example. If you look at every acquisition we make, it's all about how do we make that customer engagement layer that much more relevant and sticky, if you will. Similarly, it's the network for these operators, right? So there is probably more innovation that happens in the network than in any other field, in my opinion. I mean, just this conversation, all these bits and bytes going through those wires, it's phenomenal, right? I mean, it's not the lack of technology, but I think it's the lack of monetization, if you will, or initiatives behind traditional monetization is what was holding them back. So network as a service is something they're trying to do to address that, which is how do we expose our network almost like an API, so companies and consumers or startups, whatever you want, enterprises can actually create applications on top of it that they can monetize it. So as an example, at Salesforce, we have App Exchange is what we call our app store. There's over 4,000 applications on that marketplace.
And service providers and partners too that are on the marketplace
Absolutely.
as well.
And so when
You beat me to my next question, which was all about the marketplace. Yeah, no, but that's what's so cool
Right.
about these marketplaces is that, and the Salesforce marketplace in general, and specifically rather, is that you can go shopping for whatever it is, the solution that you specifically need.
Exactly, right? But if you think about it, the core of it, it's the exact same Salesforce instance. We did not create a whole new product, right? We just exposed it as a service.
Right.
And that's what I think network as a service is, where they're looking at the total value of the customer for them would be not just the connectivity, but the connectivity and the apps that would come on top of this network as a service that they could monetize on.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What are your thoughts on the app marketplace?
Yeah, so the Salesforce App Exchange, as Kishore just mentioned, is a great example of a marketplace because it really extends our customer 360. So now you can do things beyond what the core Salesforce offerings are by pulling in partners and applications too. So you can develop those services that you really need for your customers. So just a great proof point for how a marketplace can help enhance a company.
Absolutely. Now I want to talk about the secret sauce. What kind of things are you working on? Are you doing? Have you recently launched that are specifically designed to help customers navigate these challenging times and solve their comms problems?
So I'll talk a little about what we're doing from a telco perspective, and then Meredith, you can talk about the product innovation.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a couple of different catalysts with telemanagement forum over the last couple of years, and these are just for those that are not aware of what a catalyst is. It's basically a proof of concept. It includes one or two operators and then software vendors coming together and solving a real world problem, if you will, that would essentially become a blueprint or template and prove the value / possibility and feasibility.
Which is attractive to customers because I don't have to be the first person to solve for this. I can walk in the path of somebody else. I think that's a really great sales aid. You know what I'm saying? When you can see somebody else in my industry or a similar problem or whatever, it's perfect.
Yeah. One of my bosses used to say that telcos will never be the first ones to try anything. They also don't want to be the third ones to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think Catalyst is a great way.
Yeah.
I understand the risk versus reward,
Absolutely.
right? So I think so the couple of catalysts we did was the first one we did was more on the B2B2C side. So we partnered with Verizon at the time and a couple of other software providers, and then we built a marketplace And the use case was a consumer use case where it's a safety helmet, bicycle helmet, and then how can you go all the way from provisioning a slice of the network to monetizing so that this helmet company will actually sell the helmet with connectivity services included in it. And so, which was a great success. We won an award for it at TMF in 2021.
Yes, yeah, I worked on that one actually.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in 2022, we actually looked at, actually a couple of interesting things happened around the same time, right? So when 5G first came, everybody assumed that we will all pay more for as consumers.
Right.
And then very quickly, operators found out that no one's willing to pay more.
Right.
And so the focus shifted on to business because there's tremendous number of use cases in the business. So, and even the marketplaces are really more enterprise marketplaces. So the next one we did was more focused on a business vertical. So this one was focused on a construction side. How could an operator provision essentially with, or a third-party construction company can provision a complete solution that includes connectivity for safety features, automating, equipment and everything. And then that's something that we did last year. And underneath that is all of the Salesforce 360 technology along with some partners. And we took some of the learnings from that, and then we looked at what's the applicability beyond marketplaces.
Right.
And that's what we released as product enhancements. So Meredith, do you want to?
Take it away.
Yeah, so we just launched Contact Center for Communications, which is a further enhancement of our core product for communications, Communications Cloud. So this is some pre-built processes that help communication service providers do a couple of things. So the first is around agent productivity. So now we have an enhanced agent console so that they have all of the information that they need for their customers just directly at their fingertips. So they can, solve those customer problems very quickly. We also have something called Timeline. And so Timeline now makes visual sense of all these touch points that customers have had so that agents can see what has the customer gone through before.
I was just having a conversation with my team 30 minutes ago about how frustrating it is to have a customer experience where you have to tell, you have to keep telling your story.
Yes.
And you keep thinking, this is ridiculous. This is the fourth person I've talked to. So that's wonderful.
Right,
Very
because
exciting.
Customers, as I said earlier, they feel like they're a number.
Yeah.
So anytime that we can help personalize the experience really enhances that experience for them.
Absolutely.
And then on the business and efficiency side, we have now pre-built flows that allow communication service providers to kind of just jump right in out of the box so that they can do very standard operations
Quickly.
within their service department.
Get up to speed, get it integrated quickly.
Yeah,
That's
and
very
so
cool.
two of those one is identity verification and one is service availability check. So these are things that we were seeing that all of our customers are doing and implementing, and they're starting from scratch every time. And so we looked across the industry and all their implementations and actually have set up these predefined processes.
No more reinventing the wheel every time.
No, and then on the B2B side, obviously the biggest challenge with enterprises and CSPs have is integration.
Right.
So we've introduced what we call as MuleSoft for Communications, where we have pre-built integrations to most of the commonly used BSS systems, and the number keeps growing. This is something that not just Salesforce would create, but our partners can create.
Right.
And then that's another great way for them to somewhat de-risk, if you will, their implementation and then bring the time faster to market.
So one more innovation building off of what Kishore just said is we have launched across Salesforce Data Cloud. So this allows us to better collect, analyze, and act on our
And
data.
make use of Tableau.
Yes, and with Tableau, so you can visualize that data too. So now that you can pull all of your customer data in into one harmonized view so that you can then apply AI and analytics and start having real-time personalization and real-time segmentation.
Exactly what customers want.
Yes, exactly.
Meredith and Kishore, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I'm going to include in our show notes a link to where they can learn more, our audience can learn more about some of these solutions. I hope that you have a great rest of Mobile World Congress 2023. And for all of our sakes, I hope that it warms up just a little bit.
Absolutely. And thank you again so much for having us on the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.